Hello again, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Pod Theory. I'm your host, Jason Cercone, and today we're going to talk about how to use your podcast to create brand advocates. So, what is a brand advocate? Well, a brand advocate is more than just a customer. Without question, your brand needs customers in order to grow and thrive. But brand advocates take things to the next level and do more than just patronize your business from a customer standpoint. They proactively tell the world about your brand with every conceivable platform at their disposal: email, text, word of mouth, social media, blogs. A brand advocate typically serves this role without any compensation other than their affection for your brand. When you have an army of people so loyal to your brand that they're willing to spread your message just because they love you, man, does that put you in a great position to succeed. One of the biggest industries I've seen this philosophy run wild in is craft beer. People support their favorite breweries by purchasing their products, then take pictures of those beers and let everyone know what they're drinking, whether it be on their personal accounts or in online beer communities. These posts typically stir up rampant conversation. What others thought about that beer, why they like that particular brand, why they don't like that particular brand. And this conversation typically isn't started by anyone connected with the brewery. They rely on their fans to create the buzz, and damn, do they deliver. You may have also heard a brand advocate referred to as a brand ambassador, and if these people find themselves attached to your brand, they will represent you, they will support you, and they will do what some companies have spent millions of dollars trying to replicate. They'll impart their influence on others and impact buying decisions. A brand advocate can be anyone who firmly believes in you, your mission, and your brand. If you have employees at your company, each of them should be serving as a brand advocate, because the more they influence those in their circle to support you, the more the brand grows. And, by extension, the more they grow. If you create an exceptional customer experience, your customers will become brand advocates as well. Personally, I think it's hard to pay for this type of exposure unless you pay someone who has actively showcased their love for your brand before any talk of compensation was on the table. So how does this idea of brand advocacy apply to podcasting? Well, I'm going to tell you, it applies in a big, big way. For starters, and I know I've talked about this on the show before, if your podcast is set up to help your listeners solve problems, learn new ideas within your niche, and impact them in a positive way each and every episode, the connection they establish with your brand will strengthen more and more episode over episode. The stronger that connection, the more apt your listeners are to do business with your brand themselves. And, equally as important, they'll also be willing to review your podcast, share your episodes, and tell everyone in their circle why your podcast is the next one they need to listen to. This, of course, fuels increased listenership, which fuels more business, which fuels more brand advocacy, and so on, and so on, and so on. The power of a great brand podcast cannot be overlooked. Think about it. Every episode you produce, you're in a person's ear for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever the length of your show is. That's your time to showcase your authority, to solve some problems, and to establish a connection with those listeners that will become unbreakable over time. And you don't even have to force it upon people. Just do your thing. Share your message. Spread value. Give people a reason to listen to your show and, at the same time, your brand message. The advocacy will work itself out naturally as more members of your audience continue to engage with you whenever you produce new content. Another thing to remember is this: your podcast is just one piece of the puzzle. It's a fantastic way to share content, build trust, showcase your knowledge, and involve more consumers in the behind-the-scenes activity that drives your brand. But if you aren't focused on the entire experience you're building for your customers, transforming those customers into true brand advocates is going to be a lot harder. From top to bottom, you have to create an ecosystem that makes your customers feel like family. Converse with them on social media, listen to their needs and issues, actively work with them to solve their problems, follow up with them after any sales, be available to quickly respond to any potential customer service issues. A customer experience approach that excels at every juncture will make it much easier for consumers to pledge their loyalty to your brand. And whether they found your brand through your podcast or they found your podcast because of the strength of the brand experience you provided, you now have someone under your umbrella who is willing to support you and everything your brand has to offer in every possible way. I want to share a great article I found about brand advocacy on everyonesocial.com. I'm going to share that link in the show notes. But according to Todd Kunzman, the author of the article, and I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, establishing brand advocates help grow your visibility organically. It shows how good your products and services are. It helps more media outlets take notice because so many people are talking about your brand. It gives you the leverage of broader reach. And it frees up more of your time to focus on other initiatives. And one of those initiatives should be an exceptional podcast that keeps this beautiful cycle in motion. Again, I'm going to drop a link to this article in the show notes for you to check out. And that's going to do it for today's session of Pod Theory. Before I sign off, here's a review the show received on Apple Podcasts from Westy Pride 96. This podcast has some great marketing tips for podcasters and others not doing podcasts. If you weren't thinking about doing a podcast for your company, Pod Theory may change your mind on that. Thank you, Westy Pride 96. And I believe he's right. How about you? If you have something to say about this episode or any episode of Pod Theory, please take those thoughts and put them into review form on Apple Podcasts. I know I've said it 1,000 times, and I'm going to say it 1,000 more. Reviews help podcasts grow. If you like today's show, chances are someone else will too. Good talk. I'll see you back here next time. This has been Jason Cercone on Pod Theory.